Howdy, folks. Welcome in to the Smite Challenger Circuit. I hope you enjoyed some killer SPL matches today, but now we find ourselves in the SCC and in North America. Dimes here. I'm joined by Spooky. I'll be handling play-by-play. Spooky's got the analysis locked down. And Spooky, we're in North America, kind of the first vestiges of looking at SCC in this phase number 2. And today, we're looking at the Valhalla Valkyries taking on the Xibalba Storm.
You meant the teams are in North America as well, not just you and me.
I moved.
You moved.
Yeah.
Well, that's news to me. That's actually surprising. You know who hasn't moved? Any of the Valhalla Valkyries. So if you've been here last split, you know the roster. It's the same deal here. Really a star-stacked roster. Sam for Soccer, notably in that jungle role of SPL fame, ErupTCrimson. Pretty much everyone you've come to know and love from this roster is still here, which means, honestly, the Storm have quite a bit of a challenge set ahead of them, right? They're going up against some of the best players in the SEC, one of the top teams, but we've seen plenty happen. We've seen some Scylla jungles come out from Sam for Soccer that haven't gone too well. We'll see if he decides to run that back. My hope is not, but you can never know.
It's certainly an uphill battle here for the Xibalba Storm, and it's going to start in picks and bans for game number 1 of this 3-game set. And Spooky, the last time we saw these two teams was in a gauntlet, right? The SCC gauntlet. Valhalla Valkyries with a clean 3-0 victory to break their way to the top. Unfortunately, the Xibalba Storm falling in that bracket, taking a loss and getting knocked out of the tournament. So this is sort of a reprisal of that matchup, but the Valkyries came out unscathed in that one.
Yeah, so the Storm has a little bit to work with here, right? They've gone against the Valkyries before. They found stuff that doesn't work. Now, that's not as good as finding stuff that does work, but it does get you a little bit on the right track, get you in a better headset of where you need to be. And you can expect to see a lot of that coming into play here in the first game against the Valks this split. Already you can see some attention being put towards these Guardians. Ares, Cabraka, and Olo taken off the board. Notably, this is still on the last patch, so changes, buffs, nerfs have not come through. Chernobog is still getting that full 40% attack speed at level 1. Well, rank 1. Not level, that'd be weird. But he's banned away, so we're not going to worry too much about that. This does mean Baba Yaga still off the board. Not going to be seeing any of that today. Storm having first pick. They are going to go ahead and go for that Susano. It's an interesting one. That's putting quite a lot on display. Ganesh is banned away, so it's not going to be just completely countered by that. There's still a lot of tools available for the Valkyries. Athena's still up and pretty easily counter out Susano from doing anything. The question is how much you want to commit to the top 3 here. Kuzenbo, first pick for the Valks.
This is kind of a fascinating 1-2 for me. Freya makes a little bit more sense. We've seen ADCs being heavily prioritized, right? With like on her Cherno, Freya, Olorun, things like that getting knocked off the table or picked very early. Same thing goes with a couple of Guardians like the Ares, Cabraka, and Ganesh, but the Kuzenbo, for my money, not one of them. And another one, there's Terra, that makes a lot of sense, but another pick that's sort of surprising not going in the first 4 here is Raijin. I mean, we've seen Raijin picked up dang near every game, and here's going to be the lock-in by the Storm. Raijin going 5th, surprising, but the Valkyries got to have a plan in mind.
Yeah, this tells me that the Storm just highly prioritize the Susano. They really think Ratmilk is going to get a lot done on it. Maybe there's some flex potential. We've seen Susano go some different lanes. I wouldn't put my money on that. I would expect him just going to the jungle for this matchup. And if that's one of Ratmilk's best characters, right? He's just going to feel extremely comfortable and extremely aggressive on the Susano. It makes sense to pick that over the Raijin if you're just kind of, yeah, it's a good pick, but we'll see if we get it or not. Valkyries, on the other hand, really wanting to lock in that duo lane, making sure they have some way to get some pressure and facilitate their ADC. Freya's notoriously bad at early game pressure, so put the Kuzenbo next to her, keep her safe, allow her to scale up to that late game that she can be, and you're looking pretty good. They lock in the Thoth on the other side to compete with that Raijin. This is not looking bad by any means for the Valkyries.
Yeah, that Thoth is... I mean, you're not going to get, maybe Agni is the only other god that you're going to have with a similar output to the Raijin from range, right? And Thoth is certainly up there as well, so good lock in there. No surprise Amaterasu gets taken off the board. That god has been dominating the solo lane. On her Achilles, fine. Thanatos shot straight at Sanford Soccer there. I mean, that is like no joke. Can't let the dude have that one. Notably, Sun Wukong still available for the solo lane. The Xibalba Storm looking for their ADC as well.
Well,
dude,
there it is. There it is, Dimes. There's
watched
the
too much Smite. I watched too much Smite.
Yeah, apparently so. There are some counter picks still available as well. Jormungandr has been one that we've seen a lot of. Okay, they didn't do it. I don't have the magic quite like Dime says, apparently. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even tried. It's going to be the Nike locked in instead. Has some pressure. Able to compete a little bit with that Sun Wukong. Not quite as safe at just clearing. Does have to put themselves out there a little bit. The clear can be fairly easily interrupted. The Ram now locked in for Storm as well. It's looking like a very potent late game team. There's a lot of safety, a lot of range, a lot of utility. If you're looking at front line of Nike and Susano diving in, that's going to make it really hard, I think, for this Thoth to actually do a whole lot. Because once you get hit by that slow, there's not a whole lot Thoth can actually do to get away from you. You can try to dash, but that's not going to cleanse the slow whatsoever. Thor now being hovered and locked in as well. We have Thor going to Sam for Sakura, unless we see something really crazy, which hope we don't.
I mean, no surprise there, right? Sam's a Thor specialist. Sam's been around forever. Anyone who's been around forever is a Thor specialist by default, right? One of the first gods in the game. This combination is brutal here from the Valhalla Valkyries. We kind of already said Xibalba Storm is fighting an uphill battle here, right? The Valkyries have a tenured, experienced, killer roster. The Kuzenbo makes more sense when I think about, oh, it's Gamma, right? It's Gamma and Wowy in the duo lane. That Freya Kuzenbo is just going to be like pressing against the tier 1 tower at 30 seconds, right? Like in your face, hyper aggro aggressive. And then on the flip side, the Xibalba Storm has sort of crafted like a tier list pick, right? It's like they went down the tier list, saw it was available, and just started picking up what they could. So Valkyries, maybe a little bit more comfort. Storm, certainly leaning towards the meta. But Spooky, let's hop into game number 1 here. See how it all shakes out. The Xibalba Storm taking on the Valhalla Valkyries here in North America.
This is going to be a big early game pressure game, I'd say, from Storm here, right? You've got Ratmilk on the Susano. You want to be looking for some aggressive early plays. And frankly, you have some options. If you are facing down Wowy and Gamma on Kuzenbo and Freya, now, sure, Gamma does have the push. He's got some peel. But Wowy has nothing until level 5. And Ratmilk on this pick can get very, very active on the map without needing the ultimate available. I'd expect to see some good rotations over to that left side of the map coming out from Ratmilk early on. Hopefully try to put Shippigami ahead. Because, man, this is such a tenured duo lane from the Valkyries, right? These two have a lot of synergy together, lots of time put into the game, just side by side. If you want to actually find success for your duo lane, you can't let these guys get online.
Do you think Gammy and Wowy, or Gammy and Wowy and Gamma. See, they've been together so long, their names are interchangeable in my mind. But do you think they're ever going to split up? I mean, how long have they been together now? I'm trying to, like, back when the Valhalla Valkyries were in the SPL, when they were trying to qualify. I mean, these two players have been attached at the hip for so long. Sanford Soccer falling low to the combo of Ratmilk and Globe, but I mean, and they're good for each other, right? The Flannel boys have been running it down in the dual lane for quite a while now, and they've seen success wherever they've gone. Mostly, besides that brutal run in the SPL as the Valhalla Valkyries, but I think they'd rather.
We don't bring that up. They've had nothing but success if you look over their, couple of missteps there. Try to track down how long Wowy and Gamma have been together is like trying to track down the beginning of the universe. You just don't do it. You can't do that, right? They existed together before they existed in Smite somehow. Maybe they didn't know each other, but they existed together. I'm sure
it's like
of it.
A soul bond.
Exactly. I like a spirit, soul, mental bond, whichever one you may prefer. Keep an eye on this right lane, though. Sanford Soccer is trying to get a little bit active over here. Tegveer, maybe some danger. Get stunned down.
Ooh, little bit of a mistime there on the wall. Kind of figured Sam was going to hold on to that wall until the leap came out, but little off the target there. That'll be just fine, though, helping out. Aquarius clearing lane. It's going to be a reset here for Sam for Soccer. Actually kind of segues beautifully into what I was going to ask you, Spooky, which is, looking across the map, we've got a lot of characters with a lot of get-out-of-jail-free buttons, right? Whether it's like the Freya hopping in the air, whether it's the son Wukong doing the same, whether it's Ram, guess what? Going in the air. You kind of get where I'm going here. If you're Ratmilk and you're Sam for Soccer, who are you looking at to kick things off in this early game? Is there a particular lane that... I think Aquarius as well. Ratmilk making the rotation on the right-hand side of the map, not even falling low for it. Aquarius put down for first blood. So now, Spooky, if you're Ratmilk and you find Aquarius for first blood, where are you going next?
Not Aquarius. Not again. He's already level 4. By the time he gets to level 5, that gang looks a lot worse. So if I'm Ratmilk, I'm now probably looking around the mid lane. This Thoth is pretty vulnerable. You can pull him in, force out that dash, catch him with the Typhoon. He's going nowhere. He has no CC immunity. Sure, he does have the beads, but you can pretty easily pull those out. When you look at Raijin Susano, if you really need the help, Terra can just make a rotation as well. And once you get her in there, it becomes really difficult for Crimson to get out of anything because of those walls.
Ooh. Thor smashing down here, finds the entirety of the duo lane, locking down Shippigami with the wall, but the target call is going to be Hapn, able to escape. What a snag there by Gamma to allow Sam for Soccer to find the last auto attack. Valhalla Valkyries return a kill onto Shippigami. Man, I like that target switching, dude. That was just a great team call right there.
I mean, if you find yourself in just the perfect position to say Shippigami doesn't get to play the game anymore, absolutely go for it. Rama, perfect awareness, just flips the camera, pushes him into a wall. And at that point, you know, Shippigami's already surrounded by 3 people. Now he just doesn't have any movement options. Pretty easy to call him dead there. Hapn does manage to get out, so not going to fall too far behind as the support. Which, on one hand, it's unfortunate that your ADC dies. At the same time, though, if your support starts taking early spills, it can really be detrimental to your game as a whole. I mean, we saw that. Oh my god!
Goodness.
Globe does manage to get out of that one. Ooh. Final Judgment doesn't quite connect. He's alright for now. Back to what we were saying there, Times. We saw the effects of a support falling multiple times in the early game, actually in our last SPL set, right? If you start falling behind in levels, in gold, you can't do the support job. You cannot be that front line for your team. So, 1 death for Shippigami, that's not too bad. He's still a little bit ahead of Wowy right now. He's got some more XP. They're looking pretty even right now. All they have to do is try to get Ratmilk a little bit more active on one of these lanes. I don't like this right side. It's good to invade the blue buff, but Sam for Soccer, he's just going to be there to stop it.
And Aquarius with that Somersault Cloud, you've got escape, you've got damage, you've got regeneration. Not an awesome look for a character like Ratmilk who doesn't have like a ton of lockdown CC, right?
Character like Ratmilk.
It's a lot of, you know, a character like Susano who Ratmilk is thusly playing. Although if we had a god in Smite called Ratmilk, that would be wild, dude.
I would be pretty wild.
Dude, I would slam Ratmilk every single game. Are you kidding me? Like,
wouldn't even need to know what he does.
No, absolutely not. I'd be like, Ratmilk sold. If it was a support, I'd switch to support. You know.
No, you wouldn't. You just play him in a different role. Let's be honest here.
You know me so well. Just like Gamma and Wowy, Spooky and Dimes have been together since immortality. As this duo lane has regained, this one's been all over the map, huh? What is something? Is it a full moon? Something's got in our blood. This one is not going. This one is not Smite focused. You got to keep me. This is literally your job as the chair too, is to rein me in.
Hey, no, I think you got that backwards. This is your job to rein me in when I start getting out of hand.
Well,
I will say it was a full moon.
Here. Hold on. By Terra, who's going to lock down Wowy. In goes Shippigami. I like that the Xibalba Storm aren't afraid to get aggressive in the face of 2 of the more aggressive dual lane players, Spooky.
Yeah, they're absolutely taking things up, and it's because if you take a look at that map, Sam for Soccer is on the right side. He's there to make sure Storm can step forward, but they're not going to be able to get too much out of it. Sam for Soccer is going to make sure Valkyries are getting their purple buffs, not letting this Freya fall behind, and is giving them a little bit more space to step forward and push back a little bit into this Storm. you can't really afford to let the more aggressive dual lane just have free pressure. Because if you're doing that, you're going to lose the shield buffs. You're going to get pushed into your tower. You're going to start losing your purple buffs. They're going to get their own purple buffs. And it's just this snowballing XP and gold deficit that you just allow to happen. Valkyries are smarter than that. They know they can't afford for that deficit to occur so early in this game. So they're putting up just a little bit of resistance. Make sure that they're still having to contest for any farm. Get Ratmilk over to that left side if you want those shield buffs for free. And that allows Sanfrecce to make plays on the other side as well.
Man, I love Ratmilk's presence at this shield buff continuously over and over. Not only is it securing that buff for the Xibalba Storm, it's, you know, stripping it away from the Valkyries as well, but if there's an opportunity on that left-hand side, then all of a sudden, boom, you're there. And to that effect, Xibalba Storm has gained, you know, it's a 300 gold lead, but a gold lead over the Valhalla Valkyries is a gold lead nonetheless. Is, whoo, that Nike taking a chunk more damage than I anticipated from the combo of Sam and Aquarius.
Yeah, the Thor hammer double tap doesn't feel too good when you get stunned down. And the Jingu Bang on top of it. You know, Tigray takes a little bit of damage, but it's nothing that he's really going to be super concerned about. He can still walk back into this lane and feel just fine. The fact is, it wasn't just Aquarius' damage, it wasn't just Sam's damage. So the one-on-one is still pretty even. He's not going to be losing too many trades there. He's still just looking to keep the farm going. Frankly, there's not a ton of kill potential in that right side of the map either way. Both of them are so survivable. Any real aggression put towards them is kind of just a signal for the other jungler to get active somewhere else on the map while whichever person is trying to make a play on right side. It just doesn't work out half the time.
Sanfrecce hovering around this purple buff. Has been securing it with the rest of the Valhalla Valkyries every time. Wow, we forced into the air to kick things off. Might be a little bit of a bait as Ratmilk is also wrapping their way in. What's Sam gonna do? Sam goes in on the enemy jungler who falls low, forced to use that Susano ultimate just to try to knock up Sam now between a rock and a hard place here. Sanfrecce spin to win, taking out Ratmilk. What a wall out of the Thor to cut off Hapn. Not going to have enough damage to lock down the Terra, but certainly more than enough to take out Ratmilk.
Yeah, Ratmilk does a weird little side juke there into the purple buff where he was trying to like lose vision on Sanfrecce, maybe make him think he got away. But unfortunately, it just kind of closed the distance between him and this Thor. Allowed Sanfrecce to clean that one up nicely. And great call from Sam as well, recognizing that, you know, Shipigamy's probably going to spend a little bit too much time in the air. Let's just find someone else. Saw Ratmilk trying to make the counter gank in there. Cut that one right off. Said, no, that's not going to happen. Now, he does lose ult and his beads for that. Unfortunately, the beads not come out early enough. Wowy gets caught backing. Beads are good. Pulled back in, but nowhere to go. Hapn finds that kill. And Dimes, it's now kind of a 1-for-1 in the duo lane here. All said and done is back to even.
That was some killer CC there coming out from Ratmilk. I'll do my my best analysis impression here. The rotation was great. The damage came out from the jungler, and an excellent. You got waited on the pull, right? So you don't automatically slam that 2 ability. You waited for the beats to be burned off of Wowy. You waited for the whoop to come out and to see if there was any other escape potential, and then you pull Wowy back in to confirm the kill. Good chain of CC there coming out from the Xibalba Storm. It's going to even it up 2-2 as we take over to 11 minutes. And Spooky, we're getting to that point where, you know, Executioner just came online for Shipiigami. We've got some Shred online for Sanfrecce too. Gold Fury might be in the eyes of some of these teams. I mean, is it like one of those situations where Globe or Crimson has to die before you can go for the Gold Fury just because there's so much objective secure on both these squads?
I think if you're looking at any of the objectives, you want Crimson off the map. Like, you don't really get to contest that too much. Now, the Storm doesn't have as great confirm just because the Taiko drums does have a few beats to it. Takes a little bit more time to come out. You can time that a little bit better, but it's still kind of risky, but not quite as risky as just trying to pull in front of a Thoth. If you're the Storm looking to push your lead a little bit further, you're wanting to play around this mid laner. You want to get Ratmilk active, get Crimson off the map, and then you can turn toward the Skull Fury. Both teams have plenty of shred. It's just that the Valkyries have that little bit more secure on top of the Thor ults. It makes it so risky for the Storm.
Well, he might be in a bad spot here. Way to juke out the Terra, though. forced up into the air into the Valkyries' discretion. I just realized that the reason I stopped halfway through that word was I realized Valhalla Valkyries playing the Valkyrie herself. Freya.
I see.
Kind of fun
it all
there.
comes together.
Yeah, it's almost like they planned it that way. So much pressure on this left-hand side of the map, Spooky. Crimson and Globe have been essentially left alone. I mean, 0-0-0. Both of these players have been completely uninvolved with every kill, every death that's happened on the map. Is that wise from both of these teams not to target out the two mid laners, or is there some greater scheme here?
I mean, if you're finding success on the side lanes, it makes sense to keep going towards them. If you're not trying to push right for these objectives, you can let this mid lane kind of stall out, because neither mid laner is really winning over the other. Globe has a slight XP advantage, but it's about half a level maybe, which is going to be closed up by Crimson just taking that wave, pushing his in, forcing Globe to maybe miss a minion or two. So right now, it's a question of how far ahead can I get my dual lane, right? Gam and Wowy, we've talked about a lot. You mentioned that Wowie's on this Freya. The late game potential from this dual lane is absolutely off the charts. It's something you have to be considering as a timer for yourselves if you're the Storm. Yes, you have great late game as Rom, as Terra, but Freya can just rip through entire teams. And it's kind of this dance of, okay, we want to get our late game carry ahead and also keep their late game carry down so they're not just starting up these Gold Furies with their secure in this mid lane, right? The mid laners haven't touched. They're getting items online. Those ultimates are going to hurt. They're going to blast through any objective that gets looked at. It's just a matter of how quickly can you shred it and prevent them from rotating in.
3 members here of the Valhalla Valkyries. Little juke, little Aegis out from Globe just to make sure, in case the juke wasn't enough, the Aegis certainly would have immune the damage from the Thoth here. Hapn and Ratmilk have made the rotation in, trying to defend this tier 1 tower. Looks to be successful thus far. The Valhalla Valkyries aren't keen on letting this one completely go, though. Stepping forward, Thoth throwing some auto attacks into the tower line here. Got another wave of minions on the way as well. Hapn and Ratmilk combining, and Valhalla Valkyries, they want this tower. Lockdown onto Hapn, gonna be slammed into the wall as well. Here comes the Typhoon, knocking up to Ratmilk, forced away as well. Hapn's so tanky here as we approach 15 minutes. And that's a successful defense of a tier 1 tower who, I mean, pre-15 minutes, you're going to feel the effect of a tier 1 going down anyway. So shout out to Xibalba Storm for making sure their objectives stay on the map.
It does secure the tier 1 tower, right? That's still up. There's no question. Might have to come back to that. Shi'igami going in on Wowy forces out Valkyrie's discretion once again. But the question is at what cost, right? Hapn dashes into the minion wave, puts himself in a bad position. Has to burn the relic. Does have to burn Ratmilk's ult. They trade 1-for-1 on the ultimates. Gamma used his. Watergrave no longer online. But the relic is the big one there, right? Storm is just down one of those now. And Valkyries could make a move towards this Fury. It doesn't seem they're going to. Both sides have been playing pretty slowly this game, all things considered. But there is now a window that's been pushed slightly ajar that the Valkyries could put a hand in, kind of test it out, see if it raises up any further. Instead, they're going to go ahead and focus on their farm, pushing towards level 20. And it's not a bad look for them to do that either. Both of these teams do have very strong late game. So there's an argument to be made for play it slow, hit our power spikes, and see if we just out late game them. I do think this Thoth has a slightly better late game when it's coming to damage when you compare it against Globe. But Valkyries are going to finally force down this tier 1 tower. 3 men once again move over, and the tower will crumble.
Well, it was going to be a matter of time. A stiff wind would have blown down that tier 1 tower. It's finally going to disappear there. And, you know, you're talking about level leads. This Hapn might be in a rough spot here. It's going to be 4. It's going to be 5 members of the Valhalla Valkyries collapsing onto Terra. There's a great move up in the air. Here comes Sam. Question mark. It's going to be on the back line just to drive away the rest of the Xibalba Storm. A little bit of an ultimate for Peel there out of Sam. Globe taking a heck of a lot of damage coming out from the Thoth. And what an opportunity now. No support for the Xibalba Storm. Gold Fury wide open here for the Valhalla Valkyries. And notably, Aquarius making the first rotation of their game and gets a big time objective from it.
Even without Aquarius being there, I have to wonder why Hapn stepped so far forward by himself there.
Okay.
Kind of just walked into no man's land and got punished extremely hard for it. Yeah, you're Terra, you're tanky, you can move around, you have 2 dashes, got some CC there. But man, Hapn going down just opened everything up for the Valkyries. They get the first Gold Fury. Gonna go ahead and get the first Soul Beacon off this as well, so stacking some stats on top of it as well. Stygian Beacon doesn't end the game. It's not going to be destroying the mental of the Storm. But just look at how clinical the Valkyries are right now, right? They group up 3, push down mid, catch someone out on the left side, kill them, straight to the Gold Fury, Beacon, another tier 1 tower on the left side, and what was a 300 gold lead for the Storm has now just grown 10 times that amount for the Valhalla Valkyries, pushing a 3,000 lead here at the 18-minute mark.
3,018 minutes is certainly something to write home about. As once again Hapn pushing forward quite aggressively.
Woo!
Sam up into the air, falling low. The auto attacks of Shi'igami ripping through the jungler for the Valhalla Valkyries. Oh! Shots there from Shi'igami. The Astral Barrage coming in clutch as Shi'igami picks up the first kill for the Xibalba Storm in this one. Ratmilk going in aggressively. Crimson falling to the Tycho jumps out of Globe. And Gamma has to watch on in dismay as his damage dealers fall one by one to the Xibalba Storm out of nowhere coming back.
All right, it looks like these teams have some fight in them, Dimes. Storm took a little bit of an L there, kind of got knocked down, but man, they stood right back up, answered cleanly, now getting an objective of their own. Pyromancer being looked at. Tier 1 tower already down. Valkyries are on the rotation though, gotta be careful.
Storm take down the Pyromancer. So neutral objectives call it 1 Gold Fury to the Valhalla Valkyries and a Pyro to the Xibalba Storm. Firebomb go on the likes of the Nike. So look for any Nike pushes into objectives. Could go down quite swiftly here, Spooky.
Yeah, so you know how we just set off 3,000 gold lead at 18 minutes? Yeah, that's gone now. That's just been waved goodbye. It's right back to even for both these teams here. Valkyries were clinical. They found a really good first step, pushed as far as they could, got some great gold off of it. But then they got a little bit lazy there, right? They started lazy back in, got caught out. Shi'igami absolutely swings massive damage numbers. And they just weren't able to pressure them away from finishing that Thor kill off. Really good from Shi'igami. The thing is, once you lose that one person, you have to be extremely careful about where you're pathing on the map because you now have the numbers disadvantage. If the other team decides to deathball, which Storm just did, if you get caught by a single person, it just starts to chain CC, and that's why Crimson goes down, leads straight to the Pyromancer. Beautiful play from the Storm to answer.
Okay, we just watched in real time a 3,000 gold lead get literally like backspaced.
Right.
To now, it's equivalent. I mean,
400.
It's dang near even. Yeah, it's for all like realistic purposes, it is dead even here now in game number 1. I mean, how do you stem the bleeding now if you're the Valhalla Valkyries? Like, yeah, you're not allowing yourself to open up to more clean sweeps and objectives like that. Is the only neutral objective on the board now is the Fire Giant, and that's probably not going to go down for a little bit further. Is it just like reset? All right, team. Not going to happen again. Like, we're still in it. Everything's fine. Just like, go back to playing our normal game? Or does the Valhalla Valkyries have to take an affirmative step to try to keep the ball rolling in their favor?
Honestly, both are perfectly valid. All they really have to do is just go back to neutral, where they were doing absolutely fine. They were losing slightly in the macro farm, but not enough for it to be significant. The Valkyries are by no means in a situation where they have to be concerned about that last play. They pretty much just have to say, okay, guys, clean that up a little bit, get some more wards down. Let's not be caught lazy backing or caught out by ourselves, and they'll be just fine. You see multiple members are approaching level 20. Actually, Globe hits 20 first in the game at 20 minutes there. The Valkyries are now in a position where they can start looking to group up, but the Storm are doing it first.
Aquarius in a tough spot there, able to get on the Somersault Cloud and get right out of danger, but Globe has made the rotation as well. All 5 members of the Storm taking out this right-hand Tier 1 tower. Now only one Tier 1, I should say, remains for the Valhalla Valkyries on the left-hand side of your screen over there in the duo lane. So the towers are going to be evened up here, 4 apiece for each of these squads here at the 20-minute mark. And, I mean, gold, pretty much even. Experience, maybe a tish bit, you know, finger on the scale in favor here of the Valhalla Valkyries. But, yeah, tish bit. Have you never heard that before?
No, I've never heard that before. What is that?
That might be like a South thing. I don't know. Like a tish bit, like a little bit, like a smidgen, if you will.
All right, well, we're learning new phrases all the time here. Valkyries,
point being here, Spooky. I mean, the lead the Valhalla Valkyries had accumulated both in gold and XP is now nullified.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's gone. Nothing really to. Oh my God, Sam might be gone as well. Wind Siphon pulls him back in. Typhoon cleans them up, and this is actually the case in point. What I was going to be referencing just a moment ago, Dimes. Storm are the ones grouping up. They're the ones pushing forward, and they're still looking for more.
Sam down, so it's going to be a power play here for the Xibalba Storm for the next half minute or so. Gold Fury back online. It's going to be in the form of an Oni. And Valhalla Valkyries completely letting this one go. The Xibalba Storm are going to confirm this objective without a sniff here from the Valhalla Valkyries at 21, call it 22 minutes. The Xibalba Storm take down their first Oni Fury of the game and extend their gold lead by, call it a K.
Yeah, about a K. That works there.
Call it a K.
It's so strange to watch this, right? Because if you go back 10 minutes, Valhalla Valkyries are the ones sending 3 people down mid, forcing down a tier 1 tower, rotating as 5, catching Hapn out. And now you bring it back up to where we are here. And Storm constantly rotating around as a 5-man unit, catching multiple members of the Valkyries out without really having any support around them. And the Valkyries just aren't responding quite quick enough. And the fact that it's Sam that's getting caught is what's really mitigating the Valkyries' ability to respond to this. Because if it was anyone else, it could just be Sam goes up into the air, dunks down on their heads. But because the Storm are going out of their way specifically to find this Thor, they are stopping the counter-engagement opportunities, and the Valkyries just have nothing to say about it.
I was going to say, it's spooky as the Stygian Beacon is being fought over. Border side going to end up taking that one down. Xibalba Storm put that one in their pocket. And I was going to say, Spooky, like, the common denominator, both times the Valhalla Valkyries have taken a spill in this game, like a real one, has been Sam going down to kick it off. Both times. I mean, that's 100% of the times the Valkyries have taken a step back. It's when Sam goes down. Shi'igami forced out up into the air. Is going to be immune from damage for a little bit. But guess who else is up in the air? It's Sam for Soccer, who's crashing down onto 2 members of the Xibalba Storm. What a typhoon! Ratmilk coming up. Huge. Crimson turns around the damage and is going to take down Hapn. The Nike surviving with just a tick of HP. Down goes Globe. Ratmilk with a 3-piece. Crimson finding a double for themselves there. Might be a triple here if they could catch up to the Nike. What an ultimate out from Ratmilk. It comes up even between the Valkyries and the Storm because of a giant play there from the jungler.
Honestly, great plays from both sides there. Sam comes down, hits 2, doesn't quite connect onto Shi'igami, though. That was one of the big key factors, that he was still in the air. Crimson just going to get cut down. Oh, Aquarius!
Bates! One more auto attack! Jing over the top is going to make the trade happen. So Shi'igami goes down, but ErupTCrimson's going to fall in turn and take it back over, Spooky. It's all you, bud.
I mean, what do I even say after that one? Shi'igami didn't die, but now he did die. How unfortunate. But the fact that they weren't able to kill Shi'igami in that fight, the fact that Sam missed the Anvil of Dawn and Shi'igami comes down right on top of him is what allowed for that Typhoon to have such an impact. Huge knockout comes through. Ratmilk does great damage. Shi'igami's doing massive damage.
Yeah.
And sure, eventually Ratmilk does fall, but it's a 3-for-3 on both sides. Set Shi'igami up to get a shutdown onto Crimson. Things are looking very dangerous for both sides. This is anyone's game, and Sam wants to take more.
Hey, no escape from Globe here. Forced into the ultimate. Tycho drums just for CC immunity, and going down is Globe. Caught between all 5 members of the Valkyries. What a knock-up. Ratmilk is so on point with these Typhoons every single time. Unfortunately, Storm, no follow-up off of another great ultimate there from the Susano. Globe is going to fall, Titans to fall as well. And at the very least, the Valhalla Valkyries not able to capitalize on the death of the mid laner.
Yeah, this was just a disengagement ult from Ratmilk, and it was exactly what the Storm needed. This is why they first picked this Susano. You can see the value it is having in this game with every play that Ratmilk makes. Unfortunate for the Valkyries, the Crimson did die before that, so he wasn't able to actually be over on that left side with them. They had that additional damage, maybe things go a little bit better for them. But as it is, killing GIobe and setting up for this Pyromancer, that works just fine for them as well. This is going to push them right back to an even game state. I think it's telling times that the only lead we've seen was that 3,000, which, as you so aptly put it, was immediately just backspaced back to an even game state. This is anyone's game here. The Valkyries haven't been able to establish a good foothold. There's been some good fights, but the counter initiation from the Storm has just been ruining every Thor ult so far.
Xibalba Storm grouped up as 5 here. Lack of vision around this Fire Giant. I mean, we're at 26 minutes, 26 and a half, approaching 27 minutes. Fire Giant certainly on the table for both these squads. And just, like, no wards. I mean, there's one now that's being stripped away. Gamma's placing another one, but a real lack of vision in the ring surrounding the Fire Giant, which is now going to be corrected here by the Valhalla Valkyries, as the Chaos Squad is going to set up to maybe try their hand at either baiting a Fire Giant or poking it out. Aquarius caught between 3. Able to get away on that bird, though. Saw Cloud online as well. GIobe, a little bit of poke put out. Nike leading the way. The Valhalla Valkyries have securely claimed this Fire Giant pit for the round.
They've got the pressure around the Fire Giant, but they can't start it up right now. They've got the space. It's the question of what can they do with it right now. So far, they're just looking to put some damage downrange, take some of these health bars a little bit lower for the Storm. It's not a position where they can just start shredding the Fire Giant. We've already talked about the potential secures, but Ratmilk on this Susano with the Typhoon available, Tegveer, who could just jump in and start messing everything up. You're not in a position where you can take the 6v5 with the Fire Giant in the mix and still feel good about the fight afterwards. This is going to be a dance, I think, for a little while, but these teams are likely to go their own way.
Valhalla Valkyries were forced to back off there, as the Crimson had to back. So it was a 4v5 for a second. Valkyries letting the Fire Giant pit go, maybe turning their sights here to a tier 2 tower, or at least trying to convince the Storm that that's what's happening, as a bid to take him off the Fire Giant while Crimson resets and gets back into action here. Yeah, why not? Like, they're like, Crimson, can we get a tier 2 tower, or can we start with the Fire Giant? He's like, yes, after.
That's mid lane energy, man.
must have red buff. I mean, you can't blame him though. Like, look at Crimson's build, fully stacked, Staff of Mirrodin, Soul Reaver, like Pendulum of Ages online. Like, homie is like stacked up, ready to go. A single Final Judgment can literally delete GIobe. Like, a couple auto attacks out of Wowy and a Final Judgment, and GIobe's just gone. Same thing goes for Shippigami. So yeah, you put the red buff onto Crimson. Sue him. Aquarius going in deep, Ox form to get out of dodge there. Forced into the somersault. Cloud, not yet. Holding on to it. Good patience there out of the solo laner, not needing to use an ability. Crimson's raining artillery from above, and that's exactly what you want to do on that Thoth. What a double tap onto the Nike, nonetheless. And all of a sudden, Tegveer's just straight up half HP. Hapn forced back as well. Valhalla Valkyries well positioned here. If you're Xibalba Storm, how do you combat all of this insane poke out of the Valkyries?
It's really tough. They're pretty much doing everything they can right now. They're dropping these sentry wards in their own side of the jungle, trying to make sure that the Valkyries don't have vision of them where they're standing. And that's the first step, not allowing them to have sight so they can find that poke on you. Ratmilk and Tegveer are really the big proponents on how to deal with this. They're the ones who can get active. They're the ones who can force the fight. Because if you keep dancing around this Fire Giant, Valkyries are going to win that skirmish. They have the better poke, they have it over walls, and they're going to wear you down. It's a matter of finding a route in and being able to pull the trigger. Tegveer is pulling it on Wowy.
Trigger's been pulled. Wowy up into the air as well. Shots from GIobe aren't going to come up with anything. Typhoon just off the mark there. Wowy's the target, and Wowy's going to go down to Tegveer. No return damage. A huge Final Judgment. Ripping through Soccer in the backline, trying to do what he can. Aquarius trades it out onto Shiπigami, but I mean, Tegveer is going crazy in the backline. The remainder of the Xibalba Storm ripping through the solo laner here, who's just trying to put out damage numbers. A double kill for Aquarius, question mark? As Ratmilk puts the finishing touches onto Aquarius. Only Gamma left alive. Not enough of the Xibalba Storm to take out a Fire Giant, but the Stygian Beacon is wide open.
Man, Aquarius did so much work in that fight. Tegveer absolutely just destroyed the Valkyries' backline on that one. Got straight on top of Wowy, chased him to the ends of the earth, and did not give up the chase. Ends up getting the kill, takes out a huge portion of the Valkyries' damage. And from there, it's pretty easy for the Storm to just keep on going. Aquarius just got left all on his own. I see where the idea was. The back part of that fight was pretty much lost for the Valkyries when Wowy went down. So where are you going to turn your attention? Are you going to start trying to peel for Crimson? No, you can't afford to do that, because then that just allows GIobe and Shi'igami to step forward and put their damage down range. And it's important to note that Shi'igami is one of the few ADCs on this ROM that can shoot through targets. So you're not body blocking those hits for your mid laner. Instead, he opts to make the counter dive. Try to take out as many people from the Storm as he can. It ends up only being 2, but it was a pretty crucial 2. Now we're back to an even state. Back to this Fire Giant dance. And the Valkyries just have to not allow Tegveer anywhere near Wowy. They cannot allow the solo laner to just dive into them. It was a good push from Gamma to try to slow it down, but the fact they didn't immediately all collapse to burn Tegveer down is what allowed him to just keep pushing that fight.
A lot of split damage here from the Valhalla Valkyries in that last engagement. Gonna have to clean that one up. Good target switching gonna be important here for the Chaos Squadron as they fight back into this Fire Giant pit. The Xibalba Storm taking advantage of the lapse here from the Valhalla Valkyries and claimed ownership of the pit for themselves. A little bit of healing online for Hapn as well. I feel like we haven't really talked about that. Able to throw up that pillar, get a little HP 5, sustain up the team. Valhalla Valkyries, I mean, with the sustained poke, once again coming through from Crimson, from Sam, from Aquarius, able to easily regain topographical control here. Fire Giant going to be started up here from the Valhalla Valkyries. It's Tegveer looking on, watching as the Chaos Squad sinks some damage into the neutral objective. Happens around the corner as well. Eyes are on GIobe.
Woo.
With the ultimate, the Taiko drums coming through. Hitting several targets is going to be crucial.
Shi'igami has ultimate as well, but Thor is in the air.
Sam for Soccer looking for it. Who's going to be the target, though? As Sam crashes down onto GIobe, who can't go anywhere. Locked into those Taiko drums. A crucial first kill here for the Valhalla Valkyries. Ratmilk's ult comes up nil. Wowy with the damage as well. Tegveer once again doing work in the back line. Ratmilk going to fall to Aquarius as well. Tegveer, can he pick up at least one more before falling down? Good dash from Crimson, going to lock down the solo laner. Aquarius with yet another onto the slash line. Call it 6, 2, and 6 for the solo lane Sun Wukong. 4 members down for the Xibalba Storm. Plenty of time here for the Valhalla Valkyries to back, heal up, and start this Fire Giant all over again.
That was so well played from the Valkyries. Shout out to Sam for Soccer for kicking that one off. Forced out the ultimate from GIobe in a terrible situation for him. He didn't find any value with that ultimate in that fight. Dunks straight onto his head, deletes him, plays around with the Storm a little bit, keeps him off, pushes him away. By the time that his mid laner ErupTCrimson is in danger, he's able to pull back, come back to that fight, and give him the last bit of CC that they need. Tegveer does not get stopped in a one-on-one. He doesn't get stopped in a two-on-one. You need 3 people there. If you got Aquarius, Sam for Soccer, and Crimson all blasting damage in, it's going to lead you to a 5-man EFG. Wowy respawns in time to get that buff around his belt there. Valkyrie's now in a dominant position on this map. We already saw the damage that Crimson does with the Final Judgment that last fight, right? He took out, what was that, like, good 30, 40, 50% of Hapn's health bar with just the Final Judgment. Now he's got the EFG around his waist. Now, that damage is going to be increased a little bit further. You're looking at some real siege potential here. We're not going to see just tier 2s being looked at here, Dimes. This is EFG. This is Phoenix time. It's going to be so easy start sieging these birds, because these tier 2s are going to melt like warm butter in a microwave in front of the Valkyries.
Fury might as well go down as well. Grab the Fire Giant, grab the Pyro. You're making your way on this left-hand side of the map. Take down a Primal Fury, put that in your pocket, strip it off the map. One more objective going the way here of the Valhalla Valkyries in just a second. Only 3 tier 2s, so you're just going to watch, essentially, the Valhalla Valkyries clean sweep this map of towers. Maybe aggress onto a Phoenix or 2 here. So now, Xibalba Storm's got to start thinking about Phoenix defense. You let the tier 2 go. No use in defending those here at 36 minutes in. If you're Xibalba Storm, how are you positioning to effectively defend these Phoenixes from the onslaught of the Valkyries?
It's so tough. You have to get some vision down where you can see they already have their sentry wards in those corridors in front of the Phoenix walls to make sure that the Valkyries aren't just standing over there. They also have to get some vision on their side as well. Make sure the Crimson isn't just dumping damage through these walls. Gonna rely on GIobe being able to stay safe, and Tegveer on being able to get to this backline. You're going to likely lose a Phoenix here. It's just a matter of how much can you defend, how many of the Valkyries can you take down. With Tegveer on this mid lane defense, puts the Storm in a really bad spot on the left side.
Mid 3v3 on the left side, but ErupTCrimson falling low to kick things off. Astral Barrage is not going to connect, and meanwhile, Wowy finds at least one. Shippigami making the rotation is. Wowy finds 2. Sam for Soccer in the backline, wreaking havoc. And meanwhile, Tegveer just has to look on as the rest of the squad has completely fallen here to the Valhalla Valkyries, who have divided and who have conquered. Tegveer going to go down here sooner rather than later. A 3-piece for Sam for Soccer, a deicide for the Valhalla Valkyries. And now all 4 members remaining of the Valkyries, minus Crimson, are going to march into the Titan room and take down Xibalba Storm for game numero 1.
That is such a tough look for the Storm. They were doing so well in fighting into the Valkyries, but by having Tegveer in that mid lane on the Phoenix defense, it completely shut down all of their dive potential onto that backline. In every fight, minus the first couple where Sam for Soccer was just picked off, in every team fight, the big success for the Storm was Tegveer being able to dive onto Wowy, onto Crimson, and not allow them the space they needed to free cast their damage onto the rest of the Storm. Sure, you managed to kill Crimson, great. But the amount of tools that had to be expended in order to get that one single kill is what ultimately cost the Storm their defense on that Phoenix. They didn't have anything else to fight into the Valkyries that were coming in on them. And eventually Sam just kind of loops in under them, picks them off. Shippigami had already burned the bees to avoid the Gamma push. It's wraps from there.
You got to shout out Xibalba Storm, though, because we
Absolutely
kind of piled on the Valhalla Valkyries in the beginning, right? Oh, it's Gamma, it's Wowy, it's Aquarius, it's Sam. Like, yes, we got a world champion on this roster. We get it. This game was not 22 minutes and a face roll, right? This was not an F6 situation. This was a 40-minute drawn out. Valhalla Valkyries grab a lead, Storm draws it back to even. Valkyries grab a lead, Storm draws it back to even. Like, this was not. I hesitate to use the word clean because it was pretty clinical from the Valhalla Valkyries when they were playing the late game team fights, which you'd expect from an experienced roster. But this was not smooth sailing for the Valkyries. The Xibalba Storm made them earn this one.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as decisive as maybe some people might have been expecting it to be. Everything that the Valkyries took, they had to fight for. They had to earn every single bit of it. Because if they started resting for a second, the Storm was right there to take it back. Now, unfortunately, they weren't able to really find themselves their own lead throughout the game. And ultimately, I think that is a little bit telling of how the game went as a whole. But it's just one more piece to the puzzle. They found some things that do work fighting into the Valkyries. It's just a matter of how can they transition that to game 2 and maybe find themselves an actual lead.
Valkyries flexing their stuff here in game number 1, but the Xibalba Storm not flying away like a tent in a tornado quite yet. Game 2 coming up in a second. Stick around. Howdy, folks, and welcome into the Smite Challenger Circuit. We find ourselves in North America as the Xibalba Storm have fallen in game number 1 to the Valhalla Valkyries. Dimes, Spooky, take it away, Spook.
Hang on now. You look a little bit different here, Dimes. Did you do something with your hair?
Yeah, it's parted the other way. I usually part it the other
I like it.
direction.
I like it. Yeah. Great first game. Great. Okay. I don't even know what to say with this cat.
We'll break down.
Now.
All right, goodbye.
No,
all right, game number 1.
Game.
Yeah, Valhalla Valkyries take out the Xibalba
Valkyries
Storm.
take it away. Absolutely. Valkyries have a great first game. It was a little dicey. It was a little touch and go here and there. Storm had some great pushback. Overall, though, weren't able to clean up their late game fights. This Thoth was a major problem for them throughout the entirety of the game. I think that's really where they need to look at to make this whole thing a lot smoother for them. It wasn't just the fact that they were getting Thor dunked on from range and they were getting initiated on different parts of the fight. It was the fact that they were getting poked down before those fights even really started. Yeah, you did have the Terra healing, but the thing about that is that it's a single spot that you put that down on. So if you do it near the fight, right? If you do it where you just got poked down at, they're just going to poke you again. You're still in range. So you then have to back it up a little bit. You have to put it down out of range of the Valkyries. And if you're putting it that far back, well, how are you going to contest the objective that they're actually stepping forward around? In my mind, take out the Thoth, and a lot of things go a lot better for the Storm.
Adjustments for game number 2, Spooky. Start in picks and bans, which is where we're headed right now here. And Xibalba Storm have proved, mentioned it on the end of the game number 1 here, that they're not going to roll over to the Valhalla Valkyries. So if they draft appropriately here, and we can kind of go back and forth on the positives and negatives of this composition, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if a game number 3 is in the future here of the Xibalba Storm. Kicking off bans, so far it's deja vu across the board. It's the Pele, it's the Bracken. I mean, you're not going to let that go against Gamma. That would be absolutely wild. Ares has to go as well. Cherno going to be taken off the table, just wildly powerful right now. You got 1 ban left for the Storm. You're getting rid of the Thoth. You're getting rid of it's going to be the meta Oleron. So, I mean, you're kind of putting it on the table here, depending on the first pick for the Storm. You're kind of allowing the Valks to run it back, potentially, which might prove disastrous.
Now, there is a world where they could take the Thoth themselves. I wouldn't really like that too much, though, because I think the Storm are also in a position where they could kind of just run their composition back and just try to clean up a couple key factors, maybe get a little bit more aggressive around that mid lane a little bit earlier, try to get Ratmilk a little bit further ahead earlier on.
Sure.
But they're very much in a position where their comp wasn't a problem. They just had some stuff they couldn't really deal with too effectively. Tegveer was able to match the dive he needed to do onto Wowy, onto Crimson. And it's going to be the Susano running back that first lock. I don't normally like a Susano as a top pick, but I love it here.
Yeah, I mean, Ratmilk looked awesome on it. It was effective in the team fights. Yeah, absolutely, totally fine pick in my book. And this is kind of what I was afraid of. Like, yes, you grab the Kuzenbo. If history repeats itself, it's going to be a Freya in that second pick. Instead, it's going to be the Thor, a little more high priority here. As Sam, had a great game on it. Certainly led to the victory of the Valhalla Valkyries in the end. If the Storm do try, like you said, to run back their composition and try to clean up any mistakes, you're putting a lot of weight into the mistake cleaning up portion, right? Because the composition is going to be the exact same. You just have to press buttons better and you have to game plan better. Is that too much pressure to put on someone or a team, any team? Is that too much pressure to put on any team to clean it up in game number 2 in an elimination type situation like a game 2?
It shouldn't be. That should never be too much pressure. That is some very basic, just Smite knowledge, right? Every time you start up a new game, you're trying to correct the mistakes of prior games. It's just more of the same for the Storm here. Get yourselves back on something comfortable. They do make a little bit of a switch up with these Achilles, which I do like. Gives them a little bit more kill potential on the map. We saw Ratmilk like to make a couple rotations over to that right side of the map. So put Achilles over there. That will help you actually finish up some of these kills. If they want to, they could ban away that Sun Wukong here in the second wave. force Aquarius on something a little bit less safe, something that has to fight a little bit more, doesn't get away from the Fatal Strike so easily. Before we get all of that, Valks do go ahead and run that Thoth back.
Interesting that this Freya is taken off the board. I mean, Wowy was chunking damage toward the end of the game there, but pretty easily handled, I would say, for the first like 20, 30 minutes of this game. Seemed like the Xibalba Storm had a decent idea of how to keep Wowy in check, but doesn't matter anymore. That was going to be taken off. Same thing goes for the enemy ADC in the ROM. So we're going to see two brand new gods taken into the duo lane in that position here. In game number 2, Amma goes, Giannis goes as well. Interesting they banned the Giannis over the Raijin here, Spooky.
Honestly, it seems like they just value the ability to move your team around the map a little bit more than the Raijin. Sure, Raijin does have some great teamfight utility, has good damage, can do a lot of work in a game. The Valkyries already played against it, is the thing. They have a plan for it. Sam for Soccer can just Anvil of Dawn onto his head. He's self-slowed during that, so he's not getting away. It's a pretty easy dive for them to commit to. And since they've already warmed up on that matchup, why not just go ahead and run it back? Janus has the ability to match a little bit of Thoth's range, throw out the Unstable Vortex, and then just leave, just bugger off somewhere else. And that's what they're trying to stop right now. They don't want the Storm to be able to match the rotations from this Thor. And I really like this idea. I don't like that one as much. I don't like the Zhong. What?
Well, you can't just say that in a vacuum. Ishtar is going to be the final pickup here. What is it about this Zhong likely taking into the middle lane, if I had to put money on it, that you're not feeling?
It's just a little bit shorter range than most of the other mages. He's going to get heavily outranged by this Thoth. Like, it's Poke City in that mid lane right now. Yes, he has some pretty decent sustain with the healing inherent to his kit. No mobility, so he's a sitting duck for this Thor. If you're not getting your demon bag filled up with souls and getting all those procs online, you're pretty squishy. We have seen Zhong usually go to a more bruisery style build where you get some extra HP, maybe some extra procs in there, get some lifesteal going. It's a while for that to come online though, and with so much traffic going through that mid lane with a Thor dunking on your head, I don't know. I'm not sold on this Kui pick.
All right, well, Ishtar and Cernunnos are going to be the final two pickups for the ADC position here. Both these squads. I was just about to say, seems kind of like a Worlds matchup. It's Terra, Ishtar, it's Cernunnos, Kuzenbo. A little bit of a switch up there. And it's game number 2 between the Storm and the Valhalla Valkyries, who are looking to close this one out with a clean 2-0 over their opposition. Now, Spooky, as we head into game here, this Cernunnos Ishtar matchup, that was like the world's like slam repeat button, right? Especially with this Terra and Kuzenbo. Talk me through this matchup. Talk me through the lane pressure. Talk me through what we can expect logistically.
It's pretty basic between the Cernunnos and the Ishtar. They both have good dueling and good wave clear. That's why they match into each other so well. The Bramble Blast obviously is a great tool for clearing out those minions early on. Not really wanting to deal with minions and the enemy ADC at the same time. Shipigami on this Ishtar has the AoE basics, has a lot of utility in how you can approach those fights. Obviously, we're going to see the blast basics for a good portion of this game here, just clearing out the minions. But when it comes to the 1v1 itself, it's a little bit tricky. Shinigami on this Ishtar has really good 1v1 potential. Ishtar is one of the best duelist ADCs in the game, but Cernunnos also does that. You have to make sure you're not getting too close. Shinigami has to make sure he doesn't use the jolt too early, because if he does, he's just going to get dashed on by Wowy, who's going to close the distance and use the Glaive passive, get a little extra damage on his basics. You can choose Lifesteal, Prot Shred. There's so many different things they could do here. It's really going to come down to the supports in this early game.
Gamma wants to kick things off here, at least wanted to, burning the blink pre what felt like 1 minute, trying to snag Shinigami. Not going to happen though. Ends up taking a good chunk of damage for it as well. And we're going to have our eyes on this duo lane pretty much all game long here, Spooky. So I want to talk for just a moment about the solo lane, because the mid lane is going to be just as active as well. Is it going to be a similar situation to what we saw in game 1, where Aquarius and Tegveer are just going to be alone for like 18-20 minutes and then just completely abandon this lane? Or are we going to see a little bit more movement from the solo side of the map towards the mid lane?
I think Tegveer will be a little bit more active. He's a little bit more of an aggressive solo laner. He's got a little bit more damage to put out. So if you can force Aquarius out a little bit earlier in this game, you open up a lot for yourself on this Achilles. The Fatal Strike is a big proponent of that. Now, normally, you could put that kill pressure onto your direct lane opponent. Unfortunately for Tegveer, his direct lane opponent is a Sun Wukong. So if you try to look for the Fatal Strike, he's going up onto the Somersault Cloud. He's not messing around with you. He's going to get the health back. He's going to see you later. So Tegveer is instead going to be mostly using that either for safety or to facilitate some roams over to the mid lane. Maybe some invades come out onto that blue buff. I would expect to see some aggression there, just because Sun Wukong is a god who's a little bit more reliant on that blue buff. He's very heavily ability based. You can take that away from him, it opens up a lot more potential for the Storm.
Just kind of casually glancing around the map here.
Happen?
My casual glancing around the map has now revealed Hapn
What is happening?
going deep into the enemy jungle, snagging a speed buff. I mean, what's scarier than a Terra who's running so fast you can't stop her? She already has a double dash, right? She already has a ton of lockdown. Now she's moving at the speed of light, unable to be stopped. It's terrifying, and she's not done either. As looking at I mean, Hapn is essentially playing as a second Valhalla Valkyries jungler right now, but Hapn is completely out of mana. Sam's in the air, Sam's crashing down, final judgment coming through, and Hapn is certainly going to pay for their sins. Sam for Soccer picking up first blood on a play that conceptually I understand, but logistically makes zero sense in my eyes.
I mean, if Sam for Soccer wasn't on his way to the speed buff, you know, you probably get out with that. You probably get away because you don't notice the stolen buff immediately. However, Sam for Soccer's a good jungler, so he's going to be on his buffs. He's going to be going to his camps. Immediately spots out the missing speed buff, and unfortunately happened to decide to stop by another camp.
Oh.
Ooh, beads. I'll be forced out there. Still? No, I see a little bit of a fight back, but that route won't be facilitating too much there, so back to Hapn, right? Gets caught out on the camp, gets his escape path blocked by a wall. What is happening? GIobe is now rotating as well, but there's nothing here. Like, the Valkyries are back at their tower. You've made a rotation for the shield buff while your jungler gets to take your whole mid wave? Dude, I don't like that trade as a mid laner. I hate that.
I mean, the call is clear here from the Xibalba Storm. Steal buffs, steal camps, control the map. Is it working out thus far as we approach 5 minutes? I mean, first blood of the game was onto their second jungler Hapn. GIobe made a rotation, maybe lost a wave in return. So it doesn't look amazing so far. Conceptually, I understand the idea as Tegveer is looking at Aquarius here, joined by Ratmilk on the Susano, this right side lane. But, you know, I think we can probably guarantee that Hapn is not going to get caught out in that situation again. Aquarius with an Ox, pull back in. Was that on the mark and Aquarius was knockback immune?
Yes, that was on the mark.
Oh.
Ox form is knockback immune there, so he just gets to kind of ride on out. Ratmilk not able to secure that one, but they are going to look for a blue buff invade here. That one wasn't on the mark.
Sam for Soccer not able to secure the blue. Steal away there from the Xibalba Storm. A good steal away. Strip a little bit of experience, a little bit of gold, and most importantly, a lot of mana out from under the feet of Aquarius there. And now, okay, so the first blood happens spooky because Hapn is just in no man's land, right?
Yeah.
If everybody's playing as you'd expect them to play, I was going to kind of get towards this before that happened. If you're Sam...
Have they ruined your question?
No, it's still appropriate, I think. Shield buff's going to be challenged here by Hapn, but should go down here to the Valhalla Valkyries minus something wild happening. Like, Hapn stealing it away, which is what just happened. So, Shipigami going to pick that one up. And once again, I look the jester. Anyways, spooky. If you're Sam, like, where do you go? Like, what I mean by that is, like, GIobe is tanky as all get out, right? Pythag's piece online. GIobe going to be knocked down. Not tanky enough, though. Putting out the ultimate has survived the initial engagement, but double ultimate from Crimson and Sam makes me eat crow. GIobe goes down into the ground. And I'm 2 for 2 and looking just ridiculous so far, 7 minutes into this cast.
That's so sad because GIobe was my answer too. I didn't have enough time to get it out there. Look, if you are Sam and you have a first blood kill on you, did you have a Jotun's Wrath already? Absolutely, you're going mid onto the guy who has zero mobility, no way to get out. Only CC is a small area around him. GIobe is not looking great into this match, and Gamma just pushes Hapn back into a tower. Be some damage eaten there. This dual lane remains as feisty as ever, Dimes. I mean, these guys have been fighting since game one, and it feels like they never really stopped to think that that fight has ended. It's just one continuous fight over here. There as well. There's another one. 2 wolves down. Dimes, this is just looking like a lot of fighting right now. It's a lot of fighting happening, but it's all over small things, right? It's all around some of these objectives that are coming up. The blue buff is coming up for the Valhalla Valkyries, and with Aquarius down now, there is opportunity to invade that. Eye on Sam, though. He is rotating over that way. Teleport's available.
I just wanted to point out, if you're Aquarius in that situation, Somersault Cloud online, gotta get that one off.
He got knocked up!
You should, I mean, you gotta know the common wards, you know? You gotta have superhuman, like, cognition ability. Ratmilk falling down low here. What a stun!
Oh!
Great lockdown there from Crimson. Sam cutting off the escape path is what I'm gonna say that ultimate was, as Tegveer walks in the middle lane safely with the support of GIobe there. What a lockdown there from Crimson. Great CC to secure the kill onto Ratmilk. One more goes the way of the middle lane Thoth here. I've been pressing under this this tier 1, tier 2 tower. A little bit of faux proxy forming going down. Shipigami using the ultimate as well. Wow, he had half HP. Gamma just walking at the Xibalba Storm enough to force them out of the deep Valhalla Valkyries territory. Now 3-1, we're approaching 10 minutes. Gold lead is starting to accumulate here a little bit for the Valhalla Valkyries. Walk me through the next step in their master scheme.
I mean, the Valkyries now have to get a little bit of control over on this left side. I mean, Hapn can't just be allowed to walk at buff and invade them and secure them away from people. Like, that buff was between a tier 1 and tier 2 tower. Hapn just goes ahead and gets that, leaves Wowy without a purple buff for a little while. And frankly, you know, Aquarius, yeah, he went down, but he still has the Somersault Cloud available, so not a lot of gank potential over there for the Storm. He's very safe. He doesn't need help from Sam for soccer over there right now. Blue buff has been secured. I would love to see the Valkyries pay a little bit more attention to this left side. We're now about 10 minutes in. Crimson has 2 kills, 2-level lead, so you know you've got good secure around these objectives. All you need is the opportunity to look for them now. And the way you create that, take someone off the board. Kill Shipigami on this Ishtar, remove him from the equation. That opens up everything on that left side for the Valhalla Valkyries. GIobe, he's not going to be able to contest a Gold Fury very effectively on a Zhong. There's no secure there. You have to walk directly into the enemy team to make the ultimate useful. And when you're 2 levels down, it's not an enticing prospect, to say the least.
Hapn not letting the jungle invades go here, as once again stepping into the green buff. Sam's going to knock that one down, though, for sure. Secure it for the Valhalla Valkyries. A little bit of a grouping here in the middle lane, but calm at least for a moment, as the Storm have yet to whip up a frenzy here in response to the Valhalla Valkyries. Gold Fury on the map. No Pyromancer. Looking at Aquarius and Tegveer. Still over in that right-hand lane. Probably going to be the case for quite a while here. Hapn knocked into the wall, going on to Sam for soccer. Ratmilk forced out about half HP as well. Wowy and Shipigami going at it. There's not, I mean, opportunities are low. You saw Sam for soccer have to use the ultimate to get out of dodge. Dunks out in the back. That's already back up online, so Envelope's on available whenever Sam wants to head into the sky. I mean, it feels like it's going to be on the back of one of these 2 junglers, Ratmilk or Sam, to really start something.
You don't necessarily have to find the kill, right? If they can just find invade, bait a fight, and force someone to reset, the key is making sure you don't expend too much for that fight. Because now we see a little bit come in, Hapn gets locked down and cut down. Wowy gets the kill for that one. This could be the Fury now looked at, but Valkyries still playing it a little bit slow. Recognize all the damage dealers still on the board, and so they're not going to go for this Fury. When I guess we shouldn't be too surprised, Dimes. I mean, the first Fury we saw go down in game 1 was, I think, 15 or 16 minutes into the game. We're only at 12 minutes right now.
Right.
But at the same time, the Valkyries have a little bit more of a lead than they did for most of game 1. Sure, it's not 3,000, but it's 1,800 and GIobe gets active.
Whoo, Crimson forced into the Aegis as well. Oh, Typhoon on the mark, but just lacking enough damage to allow ErupTCrimson to walk away from that engagement. Aquarius made the rotation in, Terra ultimate, bolstering the Xibalba Storm now. Aquarius looking to GIobe. Tegveer's made the rotation, takes down the Thoth. Tegveer with the ultimate takes down Aquarius, has a reset as well. Tegveer with the ultimate, Sanford muting the damage, but Ratmilk with the cleanup, a clean 3-0 here for the Xibalba Storm. And boy, oh boy, that Gold Fury looking mighty tasty.
Yeah, Storm not going to play quite as slowly as the Valkyries on this one. They've found an opportunity. They're going to go right for it. Fury is pretty much going down for free. There's nothing the Valkyries can do to stop this one. But once again, Dimes. Oh, man, they just dropped it. That's okay. They're going to go back on it. They're going to go ahead and secure it now. Took a little bit longer than it needed to, but it's all right. Valkyries, though, I'm not understanding what the game plan there was. Because they got a kill onto Hapn. They had the numbers advantage. So they could have all went to either the Gold Fury or the Stygian Beacon and just forced that down with their numbers. Instead, they split the map. They had only 2 on that beacon, which is what allowed the Storm to get aggressive there. It's what allowed GIobe to just blink in onto Crimson and put a bunch of damage out. Ratmilk then follows up with the Typhoon. Doesn't quite get the kill, but because of the way that those solo laners rotate, if you notice, Aquarius actually came from the left side, whereas Tegveer came from the right side. They didn't see each other on that rotation. They didn't have the callouts there. Allows Crimson to go down. Anvil of Dawn not going to find anything on that one, but Gamma forcing the Watery Grave.
Easy CC immunity, though, to get out of dodge. The Valhalla Valkyries forced to walk away after I'm not going to call it a misplay, just a little off the mark there from Sam with the Anvil of Dawn. Not much follow-up if you missed that big Thor dunk. So Pyromancer is going to be looked at here by the Xibalba Storm. Sam's walking back in, double tap. Just a little too early to snag away that one. Xibalba Storm able to secure the Pyromancer for themselves. They do trade out a tier 1 tower in this left-hand side, so gold lead for the moment. Still going to be in the pockets of the Valhalla Valkyries, but I mean, it's to the tune of 400, which at 15 minutes is going to be null and void.
It's just an odd position for them to be in, right? Crimson is up 2 levels, or was up 2 levels.
Oh yeah, look at that.
You should be playing through this mid laner, right? We've seen the impact he can have on these fights if he's involved in them. Early on, when he was rotating to those fights around the blue buff, where he was able to get active, things were going great. But now he's kind of been left on an island, not really getting involved with a whole lot, and it's very much to the Valkyrie's detriment. Well, Dawn does come out on GIobe.
Oh, here we go. Actually smacks down on this one, and what a great wall there.
Aegis.
Watery Grave, not going to be enough. Sam going in aggressively.
God!
Typhoon from Ratmilk puts Sam for soccer in the ground. The Valhalla Valkyries, they want GIobe. They're not going to get him. Here comes Terra. Going back in with Ratmilk. Tegveer's made the rotation as well. Crimson the target. Crimson dashing away. Terra looking at Crimson still, who's got that execute mark highlighted on the Thoth. Tegveer falling low. Lockdown from Aquarius, who has followed their solo lane opposition into the middle lane. Sam for soccer, the only fatality in this middle lane engagement, and Xibalba Storm once again come out on top after a ill-timed ultimate there from Sam.
You just can't hammer in there. I respect the choice to throw the attunement, try to get that double tap. If it hits, GIobe dies. But following it in, GIobe just used the Aegis, had the stun ready. Ratmilk was right there. It's just a little bit too much from the Valkyries. They're trying to bite off pieces that are too big. Yes, you can take advantage of GIobe being on an immobile god. Yes, you can take advantage of the fact that he hasn't built any props or really any extra health. He's squishy right now. But you can't do it under the tower. You can't do it when he has his passive stacked up and he has those extra pots coming in. And you can't do it when he's got all the support from his team there. The Valkyries push a little too hard, and they just get punished extremely well by the Storm, who, if you noticed, did not rotate Shichigami into that fight. Instead, he stayed on the left side, collected farm, went for the tower, put some more gold in the pockets of the Storm as a whole. Now, despite being 0-0-0 to Wowy's 2-0-0, he's a level up. He's got a little bit more in his build, and Sam been caught out once again.
Force all the actives off of Sam for soccer. Did Ratmilk with that ultimate expended. So Sam able to get out, but forced it back. Oni Fury is online here, so Xibalba Storm have an objective to look at. Hapn pulled under tower here by Gamma. Oni Fury certainly capable of being shredded out by the Storm, who's going to snag the Stygian beacon while they're at it. And notably there, Sam does burn all of their relics. However, Anvil of Dawn still online. That powerful engagement tool that we've seen, honestly, used to Sam's detriment more than his benefit here in game number 2, still online.
You know, something's just caught my eye here. And if we could just get like a hover over, well, actually, we might have to hold that thought because Sam's just crashing in on the Shichigami. This is good.
Going down. I mean, Gamma pulling in Shichigami back into the fray, who's still alive. Somehow, Aquarius slamming down off of the Somersault Cloud.
Wowy
Takes out the ADC. Crimson finds one. Crimson finds a second. So many low targets here for Tegveer, who's able to find at least one onto Wowy. Hapn forced out of the fight by the solo laner in Aquarius. Sam, it's going to be a wall. It's going to be a stun. Crimson finds a third for the Thoth. 5-1-1. The superstar, the carry, the crazy sniper, ErupTCrimson, pairing game number 2 here on the Thoth.
Matt, Wowy surviving for as long as he did was absolutely insane. Like, massive credit to Crimson for doing so much damage and work in that fight. But Wowy surviving Tegveer's dive and making his way back to his team to pull Tegveer with him, and then rotating back into the back of his team. So the Storm just fell apart in that fight because they could not secure that kill quickly enough, and allowed Wowy to keep putting out damage, keep distracting, and allow Crimson to just free cast wherever he wanted, who, by the way, went with the party punch. If you didn't notice, that's his recipe, not the bountiful bow. So that's actually what caught my eye before that whole fight happened. Might be because he gets so much range out of his dash.
Oh yeah.
But that's not the one I was expecting to see from the Thoth. I can see kind of where the logic is. He moves around a lot, wants to have a lot of distance. The dash does create huge amounts of it, so you don't have to work that hard to actually get the effect going in fights multiple times. It's actually kind of clever. I'm not sure if it's better than the bow, but he's 5-1, so who am I to complain?
Gonna say, ErupTCrimson looking good so far, so for the moment, a great pickup here. Tegveer locked into the wall, but just enough of a gap there in the wall for Tegveer to walk away. Could have been a very dead Achilles. Instead, Tegveer dropped to about 3/4 HP. Valhalla Valkyries. He had an objective. I mean, their Pyromancer's down. They already grabbed the Fury in that last engagement. You're not going to go for an FG here at 20 minutes with the entirety of the Storm online. So I'm not sure what they were going through. Maybe a tier 2 tower could have been in their sights. You know, you find a pick on a Tegveer, you translate that into a minor objective like a tier 2. For the moment, this Fire Giant is going to be the apple of the eye for the Xibalba Storm and the Valkyries alike.
If they've been able to find someone to Tegveer, it opens up a lot on the map for them. They can look for the tier 2, they can look for the invades. They can look to, like, start Fire Giant and just see if they can bait someone in to try to get a better pick. Ultimately, though, back to a neutral standpoint. Beacon comes online, gets secured. One more going their way. Now we see a little bit of a skirmish around this Fire Giant. We've seen this song and dance before, but this is a lot more active. Gamma in danger.
Shichigami using the ultimate early on to kick things off. Sam in the back line, but the reverse dive from the Xibalba Storm is paying dividends as the Storm's frontliners are decimating the Valhalla Valkyries. Same thing could be said for Aquarius and Sam, though, who have turned things right around on a globe, and Shichigami a 2-for-2 both squads lose their ADC and their mid laner. Sam a little bit off the line there with the Mjolnir's attunement to try to stop backs. I mean, that was just a perfect... Well, you talk us through it, Spooky. What went right there for both those squads?
I mean, Storm just found a great opportunity to go onto the Valkyries. Gamma got caught out, got separated from his backline, so he couldn't really support them and get any of the damage dealers off. So once he's got the damage put into him, Sam Soccer actually dunks down onto the Storm backline, stops Gamma from getting shredded, stops him from dying, but it just leaves everything open for Storm to start walking at Crim, start walking at Wowy. And it's just in this awkward position where Wowy has to dash to make the space, but he's in a position where he can't actually dash back towards his team. He has to dash further into danger, and he's just really extending the timer on his death. At the end of the day, though, like I said, it's a 2v2, or 2 for 2. Both backliners go down on both sides, and it's pretty much just a neutral trade at that point. You can say it's slightly in Storm's favor, since 1, they were the ones that kicked things off, and 2, they're the ones that are behind. So anytime they kill the enemy backliners, that's just automatically better for them than it is for the Valkyries, because it stops the Valkyries from being able to look at any objectives off of that. It stops them from looking at any objectives, period, until both sides are back up. Now with the Primal Fury on board, you can see Valkyries kind of rotating towards this left side. They want this buff. They want to make things easier for them to take. And they've got the vision down. They know the Storm is nowhere near this Fury. It's absolutely free for them. Just going to make this Fire Giant a little bit easier to look at as we approach the 25-minute mark.
And at 5K, I mean, this is the real first significant lead, I would say, that either of these teams have had in game number 2 here. The Valhalla Valkyries breaking this one open with that Fury offline now, I should say, as Pyromancer is looking to come online here sooner rather than later. The Fire Giant, we're reaching that point where, I mean, Wowy's got plenty of shred online between that Xe and the Dominance. Pyromancer's going to be started up here, but I mean, the Valhalla Valkyries are right here, ready to re-engage on. It's going to be a coin flip. The Storm able to rip away the Pyromancer from under the noses of the Valhalla Valkyries there. Firebomb hanging out on the ground, not actually picked up by Hapn or anyone else there. Could be a valuable objective, just kind of laid to waste as now Terra ultimate, Globe ultimate, ultimate's raining down as meanwhile the Titans slap each other in the middle lane. Gamma falls early to Tegveer. Here comes Sam for Soccer on a Globe, who agencies it away with the double tap from Sam, able to turn it back around. Sam falling low, Tegveer once again on the dive. A couple of auto attacks from Wowy. It's support from Crimson, able to take out the solo laner. Aquarius wrapping around so low. But Shippigami watches on as the rest of the Xibalba Storm fall to the combined might of Aquarius and Crimson. Wowy dishing out plenty of damage in the meantime as well. And ErupTCrimson's not letting this one go. Stun.
He wants it.
Couple of shots raining through. Here comes Aquarius back in the fray. Jingu Bang. A little slow there out of Aquarius, and it's a straight up deicide coming out from the Valhalla Valkyries, who immediately make their way to the Fire Giant.
Much better fight from the Valkyries this time around. They were able to stay on their target so much more effectively. It was a great initiation from Hapn. It was a great idea. He blinks in, drops the Terra ult. It really only hit Gamma though, right? It hits his team, which is great for the Terra ult. But Gamma doesn't even really go down that quickly. Aquarius is able to get into the back line. Sam for Soccer just has a great dunk straight onto Globe. And as soon as that happens, the entire fight shifts from, okay, we have to kill the back line to, oh, we gotta kill Sam for Soccer. Beads on point, immunes the Typhoon, able to just take both relics away from Globe, kill him dead. Aegis wasn't enough to save him on that one. From there, the Valkyries had so much space for their backline. They were able to hit the same targets, shred down those health bars, and Valkyries just fire on every single cylinder, pushing their lead that much farther. Now, a little bit closer to about 8,000 gold in their pockets. Full ace, Fire Giant around their belts. This is looking a little bit more dangerous for the Storm now. It's going to be hard to claw this lead back into their grip. And frankly, it's not going to be around these tier 2s. Those are foreign concepts at this point. What's a tier 2? The Storm doesn't know. But around the Phoenixes, that's where the defense look a little bit better. If you can get them into those narrow passageways with this Zhong ult, there's a lot more to be said for this Globe pick. Meantime, though, I see Valkyries being a little bit aggressive. Yes.
You're telling me Hapn doesn't know what a tier 2 tower is after hovering around the enemy tier 2s for most of the game?
Of course. If he knew it was a threat, he wouldn't have been there.
That's true. You're right. Left-hand Phoenix looking to be the target here from the Valhalla Valkyries, who have a Fire Giant bolstering their aggression. Xibalba Storm, I mean, like you said, it's Globe, it's Shippigami, it's Tegveer in the back line. Tegveer, I mean, all game long, games 1 and 2, has been just a menace to the Valhalla Valkyries backline. Gotta once again come up big. Whoa! Ratmilk is gone. Courtesy of a final judgment there from Crimson. Ratmilk has come up wanting as Globe goes in aggressively, but it's gonna yoink right back in by Gamma. Meanwhile, in the backline, I mean, Thor has completely forced out Shippigami, completely left the rest of the Xibalba Storm to their own devices. Tegveer knocks up Tegveer low somehow. ErupTCrimson is fine. Tegveer is fine as well. Tegveer falling low. The stun, the long-range artillery from Crimson paying dividends here as the left-hand Phoenix falls. Titan exposed here for the Xibalba Storm. Valhalla Valkyries a little bit too unhealthy to really dive onto this Titan. Final Judgment almost deletes Shippigami under Phoenix. Mid lane Phoenix falls as well as Hapn. Locked between a rock and a hard place, called a wall and a hard place there, as once again, only one member of the Xibalba Storm to defend the Titan. It's spooky. I just do not see this happening. Thor in the air. Thor going to slam down. Aquarius finds the kill first. Shippigami next to fall. And the Valhalla Valkyries in 28 minutes take down the Xibalba Storm 2-0.
Maybe. All right. Much better look from the Valkyries this time around. Much more decisive gameplay, I'd say, coming from them. A little bit dicey at the beginning. They were getting invaded quite a lot, but they were able to punish those pretty much every time it happened. Hapn was never able to steal something and get out of it for free. There was always a little bit of pushback there. And over time, that pushback just became taking a little bit more, getting more out of it than Hapn was originally able to do on his invade. So over time, Valkyries just established themselves a great lead, had a couple of iffy team fights, but they were able to find the problems with them, correct them, and we saw it happen in real time. Okay, we got split up by a fight, Gamma got caught out. Let's just go ahead and correct that. Gamma gets caught out in this next fight. Okay, keep the back line together, focus fire, take them down one at a time, goes smoothly.
Well, Spooky, the cat's out of the bag. The Valhalla Valkyries are good. I mean, they are boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. No, listen, dude, the Valhalla Valkyries, I mean, they're literally an SPL caliber team. They have a world championship on their roster, right, in Sam for Soccer. They've literally played in the SPL. They're now in the SEC. It's not a surprise to see them come out 2-0 with Xibalba Storm, but I have to commend the Xibalba Storm. Game 1 really took to the Valhalla Valkyries, and in Game 2, they didn't make it easy for them. They fought back when appropriate. They were counter-rotating, and my eyes were on Ratmilk and Tegveer a lot. I mean, those rotations coming out of the solo lane came up clutch more often than not.
Yeah, honestly, I hate to say it, but I feel like the big reason they weren't able to find more success is the Zhong pick just wasn't doing anything for their composition, right? It wasn't doing enough to stay safe. It didn't really have the ability to get active, because you saw on that last Phoenix, right? Globe blinks in, as you should, on the Zhong, drops the ultimate. Well, Gamma's here. He's going to sumo push you back into the rest of his team. As soon as your Aegis goes down, you're just dead. There's not a whole lot you could do from that. So when you have your mid laner who has to blink forward, and the enemy jungler who just dives down into the back line, it just splits your team up so naturally that there wasn't a whole lot they could actually do to correct those problems. Tegveer looked fantastic on his dives, was putting in tons of work. I think it was just a compositional issue that, unfortunately, Storm wasn't able to really account for.
I mean, that takes it back to what we were talking about, right, at the beginning of game number 2. If you run it back, you have to change the on-field performance. Didn't see it this week from the Xibalba Storm. Luckily, Spooky, it's not like this is a one-and-done tournament or anything. No. This is the lead-up to the road to Worlds. There's real stakes on the table here, and this is a great learning experience for the Storm to take into the following weeks. And hopefully, at the end of all of this rigmarole, earn their spot at the Smite World Championships. But until then, that's going to do it for us here in the Smite Challenger Circuit. I'm Dimes. That's been Spooky. For production, for our wonderful spectator, Rosie, for everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for some more SPL and SCC action. We'll catch you next time, and stay hydrated.